After years of struggle, when I left my marriage, I had to decide what to take with me. Most important was our 7-year-old daughter. Beyond that, I didn't much care. I did take the quilt my mom made us and a watercolor my sister painted for us, and a few things from my grandmother, my clothes, and Maggie's. None of the furniture we chose together, or the dishes and pans or linens or tools, those I left behind. Heavy things, too weighty to carry into my freedom. Of course, what I'm talking about here is beyond things. What attitudes and beliefs that lived in that marriage were mine and which were his? What protections had I built up around me? What tension did I carry in my body? How did my eyes see the world through his narrative? What parenting philosophy and rules were mine? How have these last deteriorating years changed me? And were they the ways I wanted to be changed? What was going to aid me in my journey? What was essential? And what would weigh me down, slow my progress, impede my freedom? What needed to be left behind? In the last few weeks, I've been reading a lot about the Jewish celebration of Passover, which ended last Sunday. And I've been wondering how this story could bring some wisdom for us right now, for this time we find ourselves occupying. Passover, in Hebrew called Pesach, is the ancient Jewish festival which celebrates the exodus of the Hebrew people from slavery and oppression in Egypt. Passover is taken from the story found in the Hebrew scriptures in the book of Exodus. It was that night that the Pharaoh finally agreed to let the Jewish people go. Ever since then, Jews gathered together on that night to commemorate and contemplate the meaning of freedom. The Israelites were leaving their lives of bondage for freedom. They could only take with them the items they could carry on a long and arduous journey. But the more important things they had to relinquish were attitudes, beliefs, and understandings that kept them enslaved. Messages that told them they were not worthy, were less than, did not belong, did not deserve. If we see our lives as a journey, the transitions are often the places of reassessment. Transitions which could include a change of job, of relationship, of home, a change of community, friendship, a change in marital status, life circumstances. Some of these transitions we choose, and some changes are thrust upon us. But these are times, these transitions are times of self-reflection and the difficult work of sorting. What do I choose intentionally to bring with me into the next phase? What do I intentionally choose to let go of, be free from, leave behind? Change does not always look like movement. It may look like a long year of isolation and restrictions, of fear and loss, where in fact everything we experience is based on a different reality than the one before. These transitions are not to be labeled good or bad. We know that there is too much color in life to limit it to black and white, but these are times for self-reflection and the difficult work of sorting. I recently read this excerpt from an unattributed written prayer. But most of all, I am afraid of what I might become, reconciled to injustice, resigned to fear and despair, lulled into a life of apathy. Most of all, I am afraid of what I might become, reconciled to injustice, resigned to fear and despair, lulled into a life of apathy. That prayer brings me to the quote that inspired this service. Albert Schweitzer wrote, "The path of awakening is not about becoming who you are. Rather, it is about unbecoming who you are not. It is about unbecoming who you are not." I'm encouraged by his words to come to some kind of trust in myself and my unique way of viewing and experiencing life. Trusting the me that is who I really am, and also the unique and extraordinary ordinariness of every person encountered. So from that place of trusting us, we take a hard look. We reflect to see if what we have become is reconciled to injustice, resigned to fear, lulled into a life of apathy. Or if, in fact, we can unbecome who we are not. Breanne Brown says, to set down those lists of what we're supposed to be is brave. She says to love ourselves and support each other in the process of becoming real is perhaps the greatest single act of daring greatly. Rabbi Richard Address says that the themes of liberation and freedom that greet us every year around Passover can also be seen in very personal terms. Passover calls us each year to examine our fears and calls us to have courage, as the Israelites did, to move forward in life. I shared Rabbi Address's article and words with Ellen Atman, who you met earlier. She is a member here. She grew up Jewish. And she said, these instructions from Rabbi Address talk of seeking personal freedom from that which binds us and holds us back, whether that be ego-driven, history-driven, or cosmic driven. It doesn't really matter except to identify what it is for you, what binds you and holds you back. Sue Ellen said, I loved the sentence about Passover being about our ability to seek our own true passions and move to our own promised land. It's always the seeking of our true self, our authentic self. And then for me, she said, giving myself permission to live that freedom from the judgments I think I hear and or those I put upon myself. To set down those lists of what we're supposed to be is brave. And I think this is a big part of unbecoming who you are not. Setting down those shoulds. I would like us to share now in an act of loving ourselves and supporting each other in the process of becoming real. I invite you to share in the chat what you have been taught or believe that you are supposed to be that does not align with who you know yourself to be. That list of what you are supposed to be may speak in harsh words of criticism, telling you you're supposed to be smarter, stronger, better, different than you are. I invite you to share in the safety of this community. Please put what you are thinking in the chat. We'll just have a moment of silence while people think and share as they like, as you like. You can continue to write in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and read those words out loud. These are some of the things that we have been told we are supposed to be: independent, perfect, strong. The message from family and society: be strong, driven, successful, career-oriented, smarter. It's hard to make mistakes. Over-idealistic view of the world. Unemotional, self-reliant, productive, to be seen and not heard. Silent follower. Kind, understanding, a listener. Seamlessly organized and always on top of chores and responsibilities. Organized, always working, a perfect mother, all of the above. Obedient, companionable, busy, productive. I'm supposed to use my education to contribute intellectually to the world. A perfect housewife. To be acquiescent and follow along helpfully. Expected not to have a job. I want to grow in compassion and also joy and to share them. That my feelings matter. To be calm. Smart, strong, beautiful, sexy, well-read, articulate, funny, rich, and pretty. Not bothered by upsetting things. Endlessly selfless, thinner, perfect in behavior, looks, independent, always working, never angry. And luckily, my UU family encouraged becoming who I wanted to be, but society and culture have their dictates that say achieve, produce, get high degrees, become someone. I have spent the last couple decades shifting to who I really can or might be. Still searching. Some of these qualities are qualities that we might want in smaller doses that don't drive us with such criticism and passion, and others are things we don't need to have in there at all as shoulds running our lives. And so together, I invite us to give each other permission to unbecome those qualities that we shared together, to set down those lists of what we're supposed to be, because to set down those lists of what we're supposed to be is brave. To love ourselves and support each other in the process of becoming real is perhaps the single greatest act of daring greatly. It's courageous, it's brave, and we are doing it together right now. Unbecoming who we are not is how we become real. The Velveteen Rabbit, you may remember from the children's book, asks, "What is real?" And his friend, the Skin Horse, says, "Real isn't how you're made, it's a thing that happens to you. You become." It takes a long time. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, he said, because once you are real, you can't be ugly except to the people who don't understand about real. The rabbit longed to become real, to know what it felt like. And yet the idea of growing shabby and losing his eyes and whiskers made him sad. He wished that he could become without these uncomfortable things happening to him. But of course, being real includes discomfort, includes self-reflection, and the hard work of sorting. So I leave you with a few questions. What fits you? What doesn't? What must be left behind? What difficult and courageous acts of letting go are required of you as you become and as you unbecome who you are not? So may it be.
I welcome you now to settle in, and with the echoes of that bell calling you into the deeper reflection, we've already started with the echoes of the music. Who am I today? How far have I wandered on this path to becoming real? Perhaps place one hand on your heart and call on the element we heard of fire to burn away the fear, to encourage us to reflect deeper, and even to let the spring thaw, let the waters help us in the brave and daring work of letting go. Take a deep breath and tune in to where there are chunks, structures, flows whatever is ready to go from the family you were raised in. Just feel it slipping away. What has binded you that can now be released from the country, the society you were born in? Feel it viscerally falling away. And finally, beliefs from the culture, from the religion that surrounded us and still does. Few longer exhales, just letting go. Unbecome what you are not. Open to release, to change, to bold discovery of the real you that is left. Who knows who I will be? Just keep becoming me.